Call it Pop Bubba Sparks.
Booty, 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 booty rockin' everywhere. Booty, 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 booty rockin' everywhere.
Audio Jungle.
Also, difficult patients. You will have some patients who is like literally so scared of needles, and that's why I'm just like, I want to stay with just doing medical assistant. I don't want to just be a phlebotomist like all the way, because some people really freak out when they see a needle, and it's like, calm down, like let me just do what I gotta do. And I understand some people are kind of scared with trying new people and stuff like that. I understand, but if you literally request the best, I think you'll be all right. That way, if you get the worst, you know who to snap on. That's how I'll do it when it comes to phlebotomy. Like, you better know what you're doing, because I don't want to get stuck twice. Alright, so YouTube, let's talk about the good and bad as far as for phlebotomy. Like I said, I did phlebotomy before when I worked at BPL, and it was quite an experience. But I'll leave a video in the link so you guys could hear about my experience with that. But however, I want to talk about the good and bad as far as for phlebotomy. So the world of phlebotomy is a very challenging effort. It's a very challenging career as far as for getting into. You have to commit your time into it and make sure that you pay attention when doing phlebotomy. It's definitely a rewarding career as an option. It has its pros and cons, and you do get paid decent depending on the location that you're at, but at the same time, you might want to just probably think about it. It's a good experience to get into, but there we go. Woo, that look better, don't it? All right, so let's talk about the good. So the good thing about phlebotomy is a quick entry into the medical field. By that, with the phlebotomy, you have a short period of time as far as for on what certain medical jobs require. You could pretty much take like a certification test, or you could pretty much take a course where it's like 4 to probably 6 months or so. You can get onto phlebotomy pretty quick, so it's pretty easy when getting onto phlebotomy. For phlebotomy, you can get into the career as far as for diagnostic labs such as Quest or Millennium. You can also get into blood banks. You can also get into working with insurance companies, you know, to help them as far as for getting blood work done and stuff like that. So phlebotomy is definitely a good field to get into. You can kind of like divert yourself into many different ways. So that's definitely good. Also, depending on your trade and where you work at, it might be stressful as far as for getting a different job, like depending on how fast you can get onto it. But I know the more experience you have, the better you have of getting a job. So make sure you maintain your certification, make sure you maintain your credentials, make sure that you also maintain your CPR. CPR is also mainly like important to like keep up with, because a lot of jobs when you're trying to get onto another medical job, they're going to ask, do you have that CPR? So keep up with your CPR certification. The risk of injuring patients is barely rare when it comes to phlebotomy, because if you know what you're doing, you won't be injuring nobody. You don't have to worry about nothing being too cautious as far as for whether you'll make it back to home or anything like that, because at the end of the day, you're there caring for the patient, so the risk is not really as major. Now, some possibilities that can happen is missing a vein, which can cause nerve damage, also collapsing a vein with doing improper procedure, and also hitting an artery and causing an artery bleed or something like that. But I never try to stress myself out with stuff like that when it deals with phlebotomy, because at the end of the day, if you know what you're doing and take your time, you should be fine. Like, you'll get to the point where you'll become an expert where you could like draw sticks and stuff like that. But in the meantime, always take a deep breath just as well as the patient, and just do what you do. That's how I think about it. Children can also be a pleasure with phlebotomy, because at the end of the day, with children, you can always find your way of like being cool with them. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I don't have my experience with pediatric yet, but at the end of the day, I definitely want that to be one of my experience, because I want to see what it's like. Like, at the end of the day, for my externship, I didn't get the opportunity to be in each field where I'm like in working with peds, working with OBGYN, working with family practice. Like, I only got the opportunity to do like 2 out of the 3. So like, I want to be with ER, I want to be with cardiologists, I want to be with like a surgeon, you know, stuff like that. I want to be in different varieties of things. So it's like, I know that OBGYN is my thing, but when it comes to like getting more experience with the medical field, I don't mind being diverse. All right, so now let's talk about the ugly when it comes to phlebotomy. So exposure to deadly sites. It can get ugly when you see a hematoma. I'm not gonna lie, that's one of my things where I was like, oh my gosh, when I was working at the plasma center, because it's like, we can't pay attention, and a lot of these people don't listen. Like when we tell you don't pump, when the cuff get tight, you pump. When the cuff get loose, you do not pump. Some people will literally keep pumping, and it's like, I think that's the part where the blood is going back into your body or something like that, and they'll just literally just don't pay attention and just be pumping, and it'll be a whole bubble like on their arm. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I'm not gonna lie, hematomas are really scary. But at the end of the day, if you just at a smaller area where you just got to keep telling the patient the same thing, you'll be fine. A plasma center is a more larger spot, so it's like you have different areas where you have to watch, and you can't keep your eye on everybody. Like, it's just not possible. But working with different patients definitely does come with phlebotomy. When I had to do my blood work, when I had to do taking blood at my OBGYN site with medical assistant, when I tell you, a lot of these young girls, they were so scared of needles, and it's like, calm down. So it's like, you have to kind of like fight with that, like let them know, like, look, if you keep complaining, you're gonna have to probably get stuck twice. If you just calm down and let me do what I do, I can get with one tube and that's it. So that's definitely, I could say that as far as for the bad. Also, standing for long hours can be kind of like an issue, because at the end of the day with phlebotomy, you gotta like stand up, get the sticks done, and then at the end of the day you have to go to the lab, kind of like either put the tubes in a centrifuge and stuff like that. So it's different things. You may have to stand up for quite a while, so that's definitely another thing. And like I say, phlebotomy just has this certain risk. You could just sometimes be exposed with people who got HIV and stuff like that. You never know what kind of patient you're going to get, but you want to wear the proper protection equipment, PPE, so you're safe during these type of things. So if you're thinking about being a phlebotomist, I definitely say go for it. It's a career where you have to get that experience into. I'm not scared of blood, so it's because everybody bleeds, but it's like an experience where you're probably like, at least I can say I did it. So